Hey friends, I wanted to share a vocabulary speaking activity that I did with my students. This is on the series Altamar. I put them into groups and I had them decide who was going to be student A, who was going to be student B. So if you look behind me, that's kind of what I have. And the goal of this is to get them to talk about the series, to use vocabulary. So I am a big believer in using all things. So I as an author, I definitely use books in my classroom. I believe in comprehensible input. I use authentic resources. I use vocabulary lists because at the end of the day, although I think students being resourceful and being able to, if they can't think of a word, being able to supply that word or convey that word with other words, which is circumlocution. I think that's great. I'm also a big fan of kids actually knowing a particular word and a concept and actually using that. So that's one of the reasons why I do use vocabulary lists in my class. And I've been doing that for the past, maybe 10 years. And it has yielded really great results because when we get into those speaking tasks and students are able to actually zero in and hone in on a word, I'm like, yes, this is awesome. And then they're also making connections to other content areas. So like, English, sometimes science, because I like doing a lot of sci-fi stuff, guys. So this is what I had them do. They had to decide who's going to be student A, who's going to be student B. You can have them choose their partners. I like to choose their partners because they tend to gravitate towards people that they know. And I really like to kind of challenge them a little bit. So I like to choose their partners. That's like my little thing. And they low key like it too. So even though they complain. All right. So here's like my first thing that I do where both students are going to talk about what they remember from, whether it's Altamar, whether it's a movie that we're watching. I just have them kind of have this session where they're just talking about everything that they remember. And I think that just kind of like, loosens them up a little bit and, kind of help them to get the, vocabulary and, the speaking strategies flowing. And then after that, they have an image. And then with that image, they have to kind of talk about what's happening. So let me just skip to it really fast. So this is an example. This was the insignia, and a lot of kids, because that was their vocabulary word, they were like, la insignia, and so this was an example. I had them in pairs talk about what this was and how it related to the series. Okay. So here, I'm going to just show you one example that they had. So here's a picture of the beginning, and it's like, describe lo que está pasando aquí. So they are describing like this, what's happening between these two women. And the vocabulary words that I am listening for is I'm listening for polizón, which is stowaway. I'm listening for, accidente de coche or accidente automovilístico. I'm listening for a word baúl because they put her in actually, the trunk of a car. She did not have a billete, so they talk about that. And this is another way of getting them to be very specific in using the vocabulary. So this was one. I'm sorry, I'm going to show you guys one more. So here's another one, like describe lo que está pasando. This was like a really mysterious part, and the students were talking about this guy being sospechoso, which was one of their words. So this is one way to kind of like make the vocabulary a little bit more visible for students. And instead of like, if you are a paper and pencil type teacher, or if you're just, if you kind of use a lot of Blue-Kit, I think this is a way to really kind of bring it into the discussion and allow them to kind of speak extemporaneously and really kind of push the limits a little bit. Sorry about the lighting. It's like, I like my class dark. So sorry about the lighting. Hopefully you guys can see this, but that is my little vocabulary tip.